So you've got a property that you're thinking about selling, but you're not sure what's the best time and what kind of things do you need to do in order to prep the property. Stick around, this is the video for you.
What is going on? It is Andrew and
AJ
with the Emerald Group right here in beautiful Fort Walton Beach, Florida, and we are going to be talking today mainly to you sellers, but you buyers stick around too, or potential buyers, because some of the tips we have will be pretty helpful to you as well.
Absolutely. Plus, you never know when you as a buyer might become a seller.
Yeah, so if you want to know everything about the Emerald Coast from Pensacola to Panama City Beach and everything in between, you come to the right place. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ding that little bell so that you'll be notified every single time we do a new video.
We are getting calls and text messages, Facebook messages, emails, everything you can think of for communications, and we absolutely love it. So please keep that up. If you have any questions or comments, or maybe there's a video that you would like us to do, go ahead and send us a message. Let us know. We're happy to do it.
So let's go with our very first question of, is it better to sell your property while you're living in it, while it's vacant, or while you have a tenant in it?
So I would say one of the things for me when I'm dealing with my sellers is a question of, does the seller live there or is it tenant occupied? Either way, I would say best case scenario is the property is empty. So I would say make sure that the property is getting listed when it's empty, if at all possible. So whatever that timeline looks like. I have a couple of sellers right now that are looking to list their properties, and they're looking at these interest rates and they're like, oh no, maybe I should list now, but there are tenants in place. And I'm like, that's a bad idea for so many reasons. You don't know what that tenant is doing in the property right now. You don't know what that tenant is going to do to the property whenever they move out, and things that you might have to potentially take care of. And if, a buyer goes under contract with that property while the tenant's in place, maybe things that show up on that inspection report that are active for right now change whenever they do that final walkthrough, because now there are holes in the walls. So there is just a lot of risk to putting a property on the market when it has a tenant in place. Not to mention, when is the tenant due to move out? Is that going to affect the purchasing time frame of buyers? Something else to take into consideration when you're thinking about listing your property and whether or not it's occupied is these showings, because if you're living there and you're wanting it to be shown, you're going to have to leave every time someone wants to look at the property. And on some of these properties, we're talking about showings every 15 minutes from 9 in the morning until maybe 5 or even later in the evening. If you don't work, or if you've got animals, or, who knows what the situation is, small children, it's just going to be not a fun situation. So we absolutely make it happen, and give plenty of, notice to the seller to say, hey, we've got another showing, and we know that this is great, and we try to plan it on weekends so that maybe you can go stay with a parent, stay with a friend, go to the beach for the day, something like that. And usually, I'd say we have a pretty high success rate of getting a property sold over a weekend, like listed on a Thursday or Friday and have it gone by Monday. So you only have to deal with it for one weekend. But it's just something to take into consideration, especially if you have a tenant in place. How nice is that tenant going to be about being kicked out of the property over and over again for these showings?
And are they going to keep it pretty, or are they going to keep it up to, up to standard, I guess?
Right.
Okay, probably the next most common question we get asked is, what time of year is it generally better to sell your property? Is there a better time of the year?
I always have a hard time with this one, honestly, because in my experience, it's been sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy of, there aren't as many buyers in the winter months, and there's also fewer properties available in the winter months. But I've seen a lot of great things year-round. You have exactly that situation where there isn't much inventory, and so those buyers that absolutely need a place during those winter months are going to be looking at that lower inventory. So it's a great time to sell. But then you've got the warmer months where you have a huge audience of people looking to purchase, but there's also a higher supply, so then you're competing with all of them. Not to say that any of it is, I guess that's exactly the point. I don't think there is really a best time to put a house on the market as far as months.
Yeah, and I think statistically here in our area, just looking at the raw data in general, there isn't any real proof that one is better than the other. Exactly as you said, we do have a lower amount of inventory. You will have less competition, let's say in December, than you will in July, 100%. But you're also going to have less people competing for the property because nobody wants to pick up and move their kids or their family. Just in general during the holidays, let's say, whether they celebrate it or not, it's just not very common. So all in all, I think I agree with you. I think it's 100% a wash. I think it really just determines on when you need to sell the property. All of that is based off market timing, how long it's going to take your property to sell, how much money you want to get for it. Are you trying to maximize dollar? Do you want to cause a bidding war? Do you want something to go very quickly? Do you want cash? I mean, there's so much that goes into that that I think would be a more important question than what time of the year is the best time to sell.
I absolutely agree with that, and I would say that it is almost more important to know, like, you know, especially if the property is seller occupied, when do they need to be out by, you know, kind of time things along that. Or if there's a tenant in place, when are they going to move out, and time it along with that.
Are you going to try to sell it with them in it, as kind of you were mentioning before, and you know, what's that going to look like? Or the tenant's going to occupy the property after closing? You can definitely make that happen, but now you're risking that somebody else is going to take that risk, essentially, and that might come in play into their offer. These are the little things that I don't think a lot of people think about when they're looking at their overall strategy. That's one thing that whenever we're doing a listing appointment with a seller, that's what we're going over. We're not going to go over to your home and tell you how amazing we are. We sell this many homes and all this. You know, I was taught that early on in my career, and I don't think that's the best method. I think it's about you. So why am I talking about me, right? So coming up with an actual strategy for you as, you know, somebody looking to sell their home is the best plan. What are all of those options? What's it going to look like? To some people, you know, they see all these bidding wars and do all these great things, and then when we go to talk to them, they want to get this outrageous number, but they don't want to use our number to get there. That's one that really hurts a lot of people. Well, I want to get $450,000 for this, so let's list at $460 and think it's going to go that. Well, your home's only worth $440 to an appraiser. So if we want to try to get $450, if we want to try to get somebody to pay above and beyond what it is worth, then we need to cause a bidding war. We're going to have to do that by going underneath the list price, and this is only current, right? So if you're watching this video in 6 months, a year, something like that, the market could be completely different. So make sure that you're talking with your agent on your best strategy moving forward.
Absolutely. Something that I've noticed even with current sellers is they're like, well, you know, like you said, I want we'll say $450 for it. We know it's only worth, you know, $440, but they're thinking this is like Facebook Marketplace. You got to throw it up there for way more than it's worth because you know everybody's going to bid downward, but that's not the case. Then we only see that happen if we put something on the market at higher than what it should appraise for, you know, because if we put it up higher than what it's going to appraise for, then people are anticipating, well, it's not worth that much. So either one, the seller's not willing to negotiate, or they're unrealistic, or, you know, all these other kind of negative things, as opposed to I'm getting a deal, I'm gonna bid higher. You know, it's just this like weird phenomenon that happens. You get people that are just completely turned off, as opposed to I got a chance at this, let me put my absolute best foot forward.
And I think you hit the nail on the head, rather, right there. It's them knowing that they have a chance. I call it being reachable. So whenever we're talking with a seller, that's what I'm telling them. Like, hey, our price has to be reachable to the person. If they're capped at $450 and we're going to try to get $450, they know at their top of budget. They just lost out on 2 deals, probably maybe 6, that they were right at list price, or they had to go a little bit higher, but they don't have the option, so they're not going to throw their offer in there with you. And even if their offer wouldn't be good, hypothetically, or not as good as maybe you want, it's still a good idea to get that offer, because then you can now leverage that offer with other people and then say, hey, we've already got one offer in. Oh, great. Yeah, no, it's only been on the market 14 minutes. We've already got an offer in. So let's get on to our next topic, staging. What does staging look like?
In this market, I feel like staging actually means the absence of just about as much as you can, you know, eliminate. You know, so if it can be a vacant property, awesome. If it can't be a vacant property because you need to continue living there, then minimize that stuff. Hide everything so that the buyers can actually, like, imagine what their stuff would look like in the space. Imagine what it would feel like living there with their stuff, as opposed to seeing, you know, someone else's version of life in the property.
Yeah, the furniture can be all good, but definitely the personal effects should be taken out as much as possible. We know you love your children, your wife, your husband, what have you, your grandparents. All those pictures need to come down, because what's happening here is the buyer is walking in, and instead of them purchasing their future home for the family, they're now taking a home away from somebody. Now, this doesn't affect everybody, obviously, but all these little things start stacking up for you to maximize value. So taking out as much much of that personal stuff as possible, which includes, I'm sorry to say it, those beautiful paintings you have on the wall from your kiddos or anything like that. Take those down. Don't give them any reason to stop, because here's what I see people do. I watch this all the time. They're going to walk in, they're going to see this beautiful mural of your pictures, and they're going to go zoom right to it and just stand there and stare at it. They're going to ignore the house for the first 3 minutes as they're going, do I know these people? Do these look like good people? They look tidy. Yeah, do they? They really do. Like I've
Yes.
seen this 100 times over.
They absolutely do. I've seen it too. It's really funny, and they'll start like making these like conjectures about the people that are living there currently. Like, oh, I'll bet she does this, or I'll bet he does this, and it's like, can we look at the house? You're buying the house. It doesn't matter at all.
It doesn't matter that you think they're, an astronaut and a professional pencil sharpener, or whatever you think they're doing. It doesn't matter. Just look at the house. But that's really important for our sellers to know that are watching. Take all that stuff, take it down to the bare minimum. If you are leaving decorations like on tables and, bedspreads, all that is fine. Just personal effects. Try to depersonalize as much as possible.
Definitely. Try to make it, I always tell my clients, make it look like it's a picture on IG, or on Instagram. So anything that's like, oh, this looks like it would be in a magazine. It's because it's just perfect. Everything's laid out the way it's supposed to be, like it's fake, I always think that's like the best route to go.
Yeah, I agree 100% on that. The more picturesque you can make it, the better.
Definitely. Speaking of picturesque, something that I've noticed too is the very first picture that people see on Zillow is going to determine whether they click on that property or not. It doesn't matter if on the list right next to it, it says it's exactly what they want. It's got the 5 bedrooms and the 3.5 bathrooms, and it's, 25 or 3,000 square feet. Like, if that first picture is not beautiful, probably not clicking on it.
Yeah, we've seen this time and time again, particularly on sites like Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, like these places that they will actually notify the realtor. They'll even notify somebody selling their home generally, if you set it up right, to tell you how many views are happening. And I'll tell you this, if we don't have a phenomenal picture up front, or maybe sometimes it's a great picture, but it's just not what people wanted to see. Maybe my favorite is the camera rather being too far away from the home, so the home, it's getting all of it and it looks beautiful, but it's too far away. Now the person thinks it's small, right?
Yeah.
So that's like a really big thing. So small little bonus tip for you. Before we get to our bonus tips at the very end, you need to stick around for those. Those are going to be good. But little mini bonus tip for you. This isn't really happening in our marketplace right now, but I don't know when you'll be watching. If you are struggling to do that, next time you do a price reduction, make sure that your agent changes that front photo when they do it, because now to the average viewer, it's going to pop up on all these great sites as a newly a price adjusted property. And then it's going to pop right to the property feed. It's going to be there for 3 days. It's going to tell everybody searching a price reduction, but they're also seeing new properties in that same mix. So they're scrolling going, oh, cool, new property, click. So if they ignored you the first time, now's their chance. They might go through there. They might have even seen your home, but they ignored it for whatever reason, and now they're taking a second look. Maybe they're more serious now. Maybe they're ready to go. So you're starting to capture some of those buyers that have been looking, but didn't pull the trigger on anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've found that even with a price reduction, if you don't change that first picture, it's like a mind thing. Instead of being like, oh, now I have a chance, or now it's more reasonable to me, or whatever, instead it's like, oh, what's wrong with it? But you change that picture, and it's like they've forgotten that they already saw it. And it's like, bam, brand new. I know it says price reduction, but I haven't actually seen this property yet. Really, they have. But they've also seen so many other properties, it's like maybe they don't, remember it, or because they didn't click on it, it was just one picture that they saw and they don't realize it was the same one.
And keep in mind, you don't need to do a big price reduction. $100 is all it takes.
Oh yeah, just to get it to refresh back up there.
Yeah, little trick I learned years ago, back when price reductions were actually a thing. Okay, now that we've talked a lot about the inside aesthetics, let's talk about the outside aesthetics. So curb appeal.
Definitely.
What do you do there? What do you suggest to your people?
I would say definitely make sure the grass is mowed. I don't think you have to do anything elaborate necessarily, but it should look clean. It should look just clean and neat, really. If you have like a bunch of weeds growing or there's mildew outside, the first thing a buyer's going to think is this house needs work, because it does right off the bat. It might be the exterior and it might not matter, but that's the first thing. This property needs work. I'm not offering list price.
Yep, it's the whole house somebody does one thing is how they do everything, and that might not be true. In fact, a lot of cases it's not. It's just the lawn hasn't been mowed. Maybe you had a rough week. Whatever the situation is, that's what they're going to be thinking. And I've actually had conversations walking up to a property where somebody is saying, like, oh, look at these bushes. Like, can't wait to see the inside. Literally, just like that. Like, can't wait. Let's pick this part. And then they're walking in there, and some people, this isn't everybody, of course, some people just want to walk through there and pick it apart.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think you need to do anything too elaborate. I don't think you need to, plant a whole bunch of new trees and all this other stuff unless your yard needs it. That's very, very rare. I think in my entire career, I think I've told somebody to plant a tree exactly 0 times. So I don't think it's almost never a situation, like why bother? But if you just absolutely want to, you want to really make it a backyard oasis or something like that, or get rid of that tree in the front that's been dead for a while, like, okay, cool, that kind of stuff matters, but don't go too crazy with it unless your yard is already crazy and it's a selling feature.
Yeah,
crazy
absolutely.
in a good way, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. And if it is crazy in a good way, then it should be operable in its crazy state. If you've got fountains and stuff, then they shouldn't be full of, dead mosquitoes or anything. They should, appear beautiful as...
Mosquito-free fountains. You heard it here first.
And, this kind of reminds me of, military days, way back in the day when we would have, inspections, one of the quickest things you learn is make it smell like bleach. As soon as they walk in the door and, wipe everything that they're going to see immediately, and it's immediately it triggers those drill sergeants, oh, yeah, everything's going to be clean in here. I can smell it.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of the same mindset, right upon viewing the property, oh, yeah, this already looks great. So you're expecting, greatness as you're walking through as opposed to the opposite mindset.
Yeah, now don't use bleach on your plants, though. It's not a great strategy.
What do you think about photos? I mean, do you think an agent can just go in there and take pictures with their phone, or let the seller take pictures with their phone?
It's one of my biggest pet peeves. You had to ask me. If your real estate professional pulls out a cell phone and your house is not a dump, and I mean that in the best way, but if you've got the ugly house, if you will, it's just torn down, it's okay. Cell phone pictures are okay. But if you have a nice, beautiful home and your real estate agent pulls out a cell phone, fire them on the spot. Don't say another word. Cancel everything that you've got if you can. Obviously, there's some cancellation fees. Hopefully you didn't sign anything by this point. Or kindly ask them if professional photos would be the best move for here. Maybe they've got a reason why they're not. Maybe they're just taking photos so that they can show it to their people before it's officially listed. There's a lot of things that could be going on there, so obviously don't get too dramatic about the situation. Just ask. Professional photos are not that expensive, and they do the world so much justice. Your first showing happens online. Just like AJ was saying a minute ago about the actual, hey, your first picture is a really big deal. Your first showing is happening online, whether you know it or not. There are hundreds of thousands of people searching online, and your pictures are going to be the reason or the reason why they don't call an agent, one or the other.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. I have only taken pictures with my phone one time, and it was like a demo job. No one's going to live here. This is basically here. This is what it is. There's no trying to beautify this, come in with a bulldozer.
Yeah. And if your real estate agent pulls out their cell phone to do video, that's perfectly good too, especially right now. In fact, I think that is kind of the barrier to entry right now. If your agent has access to the property, they should be taking a video. They should have that saved on their phone, ready to go, because a lot of buyers are not buying out buying sight unseen right now. As we mentioned in one of our last videos, we'll link it up here in the little gray box. You guys can click that, right-click that, whatever, open it new, whatever you want. But you can watch that as well. But a lot of people are buying sight unseen. So in that case, they should have that video ready to go so that if a real estate agent says, hey, my guys are out of town, do you have something I can't get over there? Or maybe it's swamped with showings, because that's been happening too, of just showings from 7 o'clock in the morning until 7 o'clock at night. Just constant back-to-back in 15, 20, 30-minute increments. Now, it's not the norm, but it has happened a few times.
That's definitely happened to me. One of my listings recently, we were booked every 15 minutes. I could not squeeze anyone in, but I was able to send them a video of the property, because sometimes it's just all there is to do. And I've also had a bunch of buyers approach me, because a lot of times buyers are going to approach the listing agent. They're going to see, oh, here's the property. I'm not working with an agent currently. Let me reach out to the agent representing this seller and let me find out everything that I can. And especially if they're out of state, out of country, out of town, you know, if you can just send them that the link, or if they've already been able to see the video because it's posted right there along with those pictures, they're like, oh yeah, we already know this is the one. We saw a video, we saw pictures, we're ready to go.
Saves a lot of people a lot of time, a lot of headache when that happens, and of course helps you get offers earlier. And even if those aren't the winning offers, again, you can leverage those to make sure that you're winning.
Absolutely.
Before we get into our bonus content, go ahead and comment down below what your favorite tip is, or maybe something that you did differently on one of your last home sales that helped you get max dollar, sell it quicker, or any of that. We'd love to hear from you.
What do you think about funny pictures, like costumes or things like that?
Oh my God, I love those.
I love them too.
I absolutely love them. My old business partner did one with these blow up animals, you know, like the dinosaur, unicorn, all this. I think there were 3 of them, and they would just randomly be in rooms. So like it would be like the guest room, and there'd be like this dinosaur, you know, and like my favorite one was in the bathroom. She had a little toothbrush, and she was the T-Rex, so she couldn't reach her teeth, and she would just like, you know, and even though you couldn't tell that the dinosaur was, you could, you know.
Yeah.
So I really like those. There was a really popular one with like grandmas randomly in the picture. It was I don't know if it was a for sale by owner. It's really popular. If you Google it, I bet it would come up. And it was just this like, you know, older lady in her 60s, 70s, something like that. And she's just in every picture. It's just like her sitting on a couch knitting, or, you know, her sitting in the bathroom like behind the door, like you could see her eyes. Like it was meant to do that. It was really good. I really like them. I think they're very bold, and I think they require the right person. But when done properly, it can be done really, really well.
Yeah. I've always wanted to do one. I always try to get a listing around Halloween that will allow me to do something fun like that. But so far, none of my Halloween listings have allowed me to do fun pictures. One of them is going to. If you're thinking about selling and you want it to be around the Halloween time frame and you're cool with this idea, please drop us a comment, send me a message, because I will absolutely facilitate hilarious pictures for your listing. Finally.
So a little bit off subject from that, but kind of like in the same realm would be like some of the outrageous marketing people do. Like, you remember there was that song, came out of California not too long ago, called Duffy, Teach Me How to Duffy. Yeah. So Duffys are these little boats that I guess they take in and out of the city, and this agent up in California, I can't think of his name, I hear about him all the time. He's done a bunch of these great videos. Anyway, he did this whole rap song, $1 million home, obviously, right? He's got a bigger budget to do stuff like this. But they actually got like a rapper in there. They like all this other stuff. It was like, teach me how to Duffy, you know. And it was a viral hit. I mean, it spread across like wildfire. It was crazy. I would love to do more stuff like that. We don't get the opportunity as much. Mm-hmm. So the reason why that popped in my head is because you were like, if you're thinking about selling, but if you are and you're in the local area, you want some outrageously fun marketing, we've got a lot of good ideas for that. We need somebody to, you know,
be okay with it. Yeah, so we're looking for creative sellers with a big sense of humor, because that can be all kinds of fun. Yeah.
All right, our bonus tips for today. We each have one for you. I've been holding on to mine. You kind of touched on mine a little bit already, so I'm going to let you go first. And tell me what your bonus tip for your sellers are, or for, you know, anybody watching.
So actually, and you might think this is kind of corny, but setting cookies out or like some bottles of water for people who are coming through and doing the showings, because a lot of these folks, you know, they're looking at multiple properties a day potentially. They've been on the road, they're kind of tired, maybe they're getting a little bit frustrated, they're not sure if they've really got a chance at a property, or, you know, if they know this is going to be a multiple bidder situation, which a lot of times
now they
it
can
is.
Just like eat their feelings. Is that what you're saying? I don't know if I'm going to get this house, but at least they had cookies.
At least they had cookies. You know, it's just like it just gives people like a different, like a welcoming feeling.
Mm-hmm.
It gives the house like a really cool energy. And something else is put toilet paper and paper towels and soap in the restrooms as well, and realize that people, you know, have bodily functions that they might need to exercise if they've been out on the road all day, and showing that, you know, you understand what it's like to be human, and maybe you get thirsty or hungry or need to use the restroom, and so you're facilitating something to ease that a little bit, and so they're more likely to spend more time at your property and feel comfortable there and be like, oh wow, I do like it here. This has a great feel to it, even though it has absolutely nothing to do with the house.
Got my cookies and milk and I'm ready to go. I can live here.
I wouldn't set milk out.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good idea.
But like some cookies, just make sure you label them. You never know who has allergies, and they should be, protecting themselves. Oh, this looks like chocolate chip. I have a chocolate allergy. Not going to eat that. Whatever. But some unopened bottles of water, that'd just be great. And a place to use the restroom and not feel like, oh my gosh, is the water turned on?
Yeah, it's always so awkward when somebody needs to use a restroom, because you could kind of tell like a minute before they say something maybe that they've just been holding it for a really long time. They finally be like, can I use a restroom here? Like, yeah, just make sure. I always I'm not even obviously not a chick, but like I've seen it enough now that I'm always like, make sure there's toilet paper, like for your benefit. And it's always so awkward when I do it, but I'm like legitimately trying to help them out,
Yeah, and plus if they're traveling with children, a lot of times I'm going to these showings with Sage, she's 3 and her bladder is like this big. And it's just like, Mommy, I gotta pee. And I'm like, yes, you do.
Yeah, and she's like just filling up on cookies and water, so.
So she's like, Mommy, I gotta pee. All right, enough about that. What's your bonus?
All right, my bonus tip, you already touched on just a little bit, but I want to go over the whole strategy. This is probably one of our biggest strategies that we are using to date. That's why we're beating the market by a tremendous amount, by the amount of days that we're on market, all this great stuff. Not going to go into all that, but this is like to a T the strategy. So call your agent, show them this clip, whatever you got to do. It's very simple right now. And of course, this is working when it's a hot seller's market. This will eventually turn, but it's still a pretty good strategy to use even in a slightly slower seller's market. So we like to launch on a Thursday or a Friday live, okay? Our multiple listing service first has a opportunity to do coming soon. Not every area does that. So if your agent says they don't do it, they probably don't. So please just contact your agent for all of this, obviously. But we put it in the coming soon as early as we possibly can. And we start getting some excitement around it, okay? So we start bringing in all this, and then the agents will inevitably start really bugging. Hey, when can I see it? Hey, when can I see it? Hey, when can I see it? Our marketplace allows us to go see it. If it's incoming soon, it's a heyday for agents. So for those of you buyers, if any of them have made it this far, keep in mind that your agent should have you on the coming soon list, because you might be able to pick some of those up before they hit the market officially. Anyway, back to the strat. So now we've done this coming soon. Agents are trying to see it. So what I like to do is a couple of days before, let's say I'm going to launch on a Friday, which is when I like to launch, about Wednesday, Tuesday, if I get the seller's permission, I'm going to start doing some showings. I'm going to do the showings of the people that were really bugging me. Okay, I'm not going to do the ones that are, they mentioned it once 3 weeks ago and I never heard from them since. But if they reach out to me 2 or 3 times, I'm like, get in there, get me an offer. Because I want to launch with an offer in hand. That's the goal. So 24 hours before we launch live, that's Thursday, we start marketing to everybody. We start throwing our ads out. We start dripping all of that stuff out. We try to secure one. But we use our buyer agent friends and stuff like that. We send it out to them. We get a ton of people in so that on Friday at 5 p.m. when we launch or what have you, maybe we're not doing showings till Saturday, but we launch on Friday no matter what, and then we purposely don't do any showings until Saturday. We let Saturday be all the individual showings or an open house. And then Sunday is the opposite of that thing. So if we do an open house Sunday, we open it to the public on Saturday. If we do the open house Saturday, we do the private ones on Sunday. I know it sounds complicated, but just keep it open, right? So now we've already got offers in most of the time. And so as soon as that first person calls me Friday, they're like, hey, Andrew, Mongo, I love this house. I got to go see it. I got a perfect person for it. Great. Awesome, man. You go over there. Here's the code. It's vacant. And you can go over there at 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, that's perfect. Yeah, 10 to 10:30, it's yours. I got somebody right after you. By the way, we already have an offer. So what? I just saw it. That's the response we get 90% of the time. Just came on. What are you talking about? Or we have 3 offers. My favorite was a couple weeks ago. We had 4 offers, and I'm like, we have 4 offers. They're like, didn't it just come on the market? Like my customer just called me. Like it just came on. I was like, yeah, I made it live about 15 minutes ago. And then so for them to be like, okay, so what this does to the buyers, they know it's a hot property, right? Obviously it's a seller's market, so any pretty property is going to do very well anyway. But now they know going into it, we got to fight. Those offers could be just not great, which is uncommon, but they could be not great. So these people they're going to come in hot. So that is a great strategy for us. And then we stop taking offers at Sunday at 5 p.m. or 7 p.m. depending on what's good for the seller. And then we either negotiate or pick one or ask for highest and best. I mean, there's lots of different situations there we talk a lot about on this channel, so you can always go back and listen to any of those.
Yeah, definitely. I always like being able to close it off at a specific time, and that, especially if it's early enough, then you can communicate all the different offers after we compile them together, present them to the seller, and say which one do you like best, and have an answer right then. So we go into Monday ready to start that countdown on the contract of, all right, let's get the EMD, inspections, everything's ready to go.
Yeah, get everybody in line now. Everybody just starts doing their job. It's nice and fresh. And the best part is you don't lose but one weekend. I mean, because as AJ was mentioning earlier, some of these properties are going to be showing like crazy. So that's why we don't like to launch on Friday, but don't show until Saturday. So now, Saturday morning, the first showing that comes in, you leave the house, take the kids and the dogs, go to the dog park, go have a movie, go stay at your friend's house, your family's house, whatever, for the whole weekend if you want. Or come back at the end of the day, and you can dictate these times, obviously. Come back at the end of the day and wait for the following day. But point is, causing a bidding war is the quickest way to get max dollar. And then from there, all you have to worry about is appraisal issues.
Which we won't have. Everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds right. So those are some of the tips that we suggest to our sellers here locally. If you guys are thinking about buy, selling, or investing here in our area, give us a call. All of our information is on the screen. And please, if you guys have anything to add to this conversation, maybe things that you've done, please put it in a comment down below. We really do like talking to you guys, like legit.
Yeah,
Like,
especially if you guys have done something that we didn't mention, something cool,
Yeah.
or maybe you had an agent that did some really cool marketing for you. Like, even just those stories are super fun.
Yeah, we literally have a text channel that we're constantly screenshotting, sending to the other agents, and like, oh, this is pretty cool. So anyway, comment down below. And thank you so much for watching. See ya.